morning, everyone. My name is Sarah. I work in the circulation staff at Acton Memorial Library, and I'm here with Chris, our teen librarian, and we're just going to discuss a little bit about what that means.
Yeah. Hi, everyone, you know me.
So, how about we start off with walking me through a typical day as the teen librarian?
Sure. So my day starts most days at 8:30. I come in. I'm usually one of the earlier people here because I live basically around the corner. So I'll come upstairs, I turn on the lights, and then I really just go through the YA space and clean it up, make sure all the chairs are pushed in, the tables are cleaned up. I will check on our community Lego and see if anyone has gotten it to a point where I need to put out another box. I may put one or two pieces down of my own just to, get me in a happy mood before my day starts. I will go around to all of our displays, make sure that they're stocked. I don't need to put any ones out. And then I'll just generally walk the shelves and make sure, especially our graphic novel shelves, we have a lot of graphic novels and not as much space for them. So I want to make sure that graphic novels haven't gotten pushed behind, that they're all easy to read, that they're all neat, and people can find what they're looking for. So that's generally how I start my day. Once I do that, which I call my morning chores, then my day looks different every single day. I don't really have any day that looks exactly like the others. On any given day, I am going to one of the high schools, or high school or junior high school, to meet with the librarians and talk to teens about programs and services. I am going to our West Acton branch to do tech help appointments. I am planning programming or reaching out to programmers to try and get things going. I'm creating graphics. I'm setting up programs for other people to run when I'm not in the building physically. So any given day is going to look very different depending just on, the whims of the gods.
I can definitely relate to that. I feel like circulation is the same but different in
Yes.
its own way.
Yes, which is part of the joy of working in a library, right? Is you have that variety and engagement, and you never know who's going to walk in the door or what's going to happen. So
Exactly.
it's a little bit of like excitement
Yeah.
to a very low stakes job generally, but it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. Tell me more about meeting with local high schools and middle schools. That sounds really
Yeah.
interesting.
So I, one of the main things that I do as a teen librarian is find ways to engage with the teenagers, and especially here in Acton Boxborough, we have a very studious population of teenagers. There's a lot of pressure that they put on themselves and that they get from their families and outside sources to do well academically, and to know what they want to do for college, know what they want to do for their careers, and they have all this stress and pressure. So the main place that I can really meet them besides here is at their schools, because that's where they are. That's where they're spending their time. That's where they're focused. That's where they're doing that. And part of what I'm trying to do is meet them where they are and remind them, hey, you're kids. It's okay it's actually more than okay. It's important. It's very important to pull back a little bit from your studies every now and again in order to relax, in order to have fun, in order to play. And I feel like these kids have done a fantastic job learning how to buckle down, how to work, how to put their nose to the grindstone and do what needs to get done. And that's great. Part of being able to be a good worker and like be a good like active ambitious person is knowing how to take a step back and breathe and take a break so that you don't burn out.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a main thing that I try to do is engage with the kids so they know who I am, they know what I'm about, they know that I respect them and value them and appreciate everything about them, and that when I tell them, hey, you can relax, you should relax, they take that to heart. So that's a big part of what I try to do here is just meet them where they are, and then remind them that they're human, not robots.
Yes. And I know we've talked about this too before, and I know that's a goal for a lot of the events that you host here.
Yeah.
Will you tell me some of your favorite events that you've done with that sort of theme?
Sure. Well, one of my absolute favorite events, it was very, very simple, but it was just so heartwarming and it was so nice, is we had, I'm going to plug Danny's Place here in Acton. It's absolutely fantastic. But we had Katie from Danny's Place come over, and we were, specifically to do a de-stress event for teens. That's really all that it was a de-stress. And again, we met them where they were. We had the kids come in, we had pizza. Some of them came for the pizza, and that's totally fine. But we really just met them where they were, and we said, hey, what can we do with you right now that's really going to help you de-stress? Do you want to meditate? Do you want to do yoga? Do you want to have a dance party? Do you want to color? They decided they wanted to color. That's totally awesome. But we all just sat around a table for an hour and a half and colored and chatted. And you know this, Sarah, you guys might not know this, but that's like my favorite thing to do is just have people sit with me and make things and like complain about stuff. It's fantastic.
It is really fun.
It's cathartic, and it's just a really simple way, and an easy way. One, we gave the teens agency. They decided what they wanted to do to de-stress, and it's just a really simple way to remind them, like, you can calm down and de-stress without necessarily having to do something crazy. It's just a matter of sitting down with community and in your community and just being and just letting yourself be in the moment and just breathe through it, do what you're doing, enjoy yourself, and not think about, oh, I've got a psych test, oh, I've got a calculus test, oh, I've got this final, which they don't call it a final, but I've got this test, I've got that test, whatever, I've got to get into this school or that school or this school or that school, or I'm going to, I've got to prep to spend my next 50 years of life doing a thing. No, you don't, not in this moment. It's okay.
That's amazing. I think that's really valuable. I know as a teen, I definitely struggled with that as well. And I feel like it's incredible because that probably, your own experience probably informs how you help the teens locally.
Absolutely. And I definitely was that teen. In my head in high school, I was going to go to college, I was going to go to law school, I was going to become a public defender, and then I was going to be a Supreme Court justice. Bam. That was my life. It did not happen. Did not happen.
I went to film school. Hey.
Absolutely none of that happened. I ended up, I was in banking and financial advising for many, many years, and eventually was just like, this sucks. And then, so and that's something that I think is important for teens too, because they do have this rhetoric shoved in their heads. And we all did. You have this rhetoric in your heads that you have to know what you want to do so that you can prep for it. And there's so many stories about people who didn't find their passion until later in life. I think you're going to know this. Was it Harrison Ford who was a carpenter until he was like 50? No, or Morgan Freeman maybe? I don't know. One of the
yeah, it was one of those.
One of the greats.
One of the greats. Many of the greats.
A lot of the greats, yeah.
Yeah, I think Morgan Freeman didn't start acting until he was in his 40s.
Yeah. So it's absolutely, you don't have to know what you're doing right this second. If you want to explore options, great. I'm happy to do that. And we have career centers, we have career talks, we have all sorts of things to help them like sort through their feelings on things they want to try. I'm absolutely up for that. But it's okay if you don't have it figured out. It's okay. Like, you're going to be fine. It'll all be great. You're doing fantastic. Like, all of my kids are wonderful. I have not met a single kid that I was like, oh. You guys are all doing fantastic. You're so polite. You're so good. You're here every night studying. That's insane. I have to tell you that. It really is. And I love it. I love to see it, and I love to find little ways to just help them have fun, because I do think that's the piece that they forget to do. Yeah, we all forget to do it.
That's very true. We do all forget to do it. I think creating balance is something that you should learn when you're young.
Yeah,
because it's a skill that is utilized throughout your whole life.
Right. And it's a habit. it's a habit that you have to get into.
Yeah.
It's like brushing your teeth twice a day or flossing, you know.
Yeah.
It's like you have to get into that habit of doing it every single day so that you don't even think about it. You're just like, you know, because right now, like my big outlet a lot of times for letting go is sewing a thing, and I have to remind myself, like, hey, you haven't made a thing in a few weeks. Let's sit down and make something.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be great if that was just a habit? Like you just got home, you ate dinner, and you just went and you did whatever. Like you didn't have to think about it.
Yeah.
You know, you just did whatever brought you joy. And that's definitely a habit that you have to build early.
And I feel like I see that a lot in the kinds of events that you're planning. You know, it's very well rounded. You have both sides of the spectrum. One that's helping with moving forward in life and finding a career and working on those studies, and also balancing that with fun and peace and meditation and breathing and crafts and all those wonderful things. So I think it's a wonderful resource. I know I wish I could have had something like that when I was a teen. I think you're doing amazing things.
Oh, thank you. Don't look at me. No, I appreciate that, because that is, you know, I am trying to find that balance, and in finding little ways that I can like teach in a way that's fun. Like later this month we have Meals in a Mug, where we're gonna make 3 different recipes in a mug in a microwave. They're gonna learn how to do it, and we're gonna talk about why it works though. Why does mixing flour and baking soda and water in a mug get you a cake? Why does that? What's happening? We're going to talk about why you need to add cornstarch to the cheese before you turn it into mac and cheese, and what it's going to look like if you don't add that, which is not great. Not great, Holmes.
I'm learning things here. This is great.
So I do try, like, I don't ever want it to be a situation where learning is not fun, because learning can be outrageously fun. There's a very specific set of skills that I have that I can teach people, which is mostly crafting and cooking. I'm not a trad wife, but it is mostly crafting and cooking.
Let it be known.
Let it be known. But you know, it's finding that balance between learning something that's fun and new, and having like it, you know, having the joy in it, because you don't have to learn it. I think that's the key difference. Although you could make an argument that cooking is a life skill that we really all should learn, but you do not, in the day of DoorDash here in urban sprawl Massachusetts, you do not have to learn how to cook if you don't want to. So I think that's what brings the fun into it. It's like, oh, I'm learning a new skill, that there's no pressure on me to learn this skill. Yes. It's just I'm learning it for the joy of learning it and for enjoying myself. And I think that's the key there, is having and making the educational part fun.
And exposure to failure.
Yeah.
And making sure, you know, failing is learning.
Right.
And failing is very hard to do. And if you do it with simple, fun things,
right,
you know, maybe when something big happens, it won't be so life-shattering.
Right. And the key to failure is figuring out why you failed. So like the first time we were talking about mac and cheese, the first time I made mac and cheese in a mug, the cheese all went I can't describe it in any other way. There's no words.
I have a visual for that. I can see it.
And it's because, fun fact, the cornstarch acts as an emulsifier, so it helps the oils from the cheese to mix with the water that is already in the mug and the milk that's already in the mug to emulsify them together so that you get a sauce. Ideally, the best way to do this is with a roux in a pot, and we can go into a whole thing on that later, but you're making this in a mug, so cornstarch.
Mug in a microwave, cornstarch.
Mug in a microwave, cornstarch. Yes, absolutely.
I love that.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I think this has been amazing. I feel like I've learned more about you and your job today, and I think that's incredible. Thank you for sharing with me today.
Well, thank you for being willing to talk to me today. It's a lot of fun. I love talking about my job. I have a fun job.
You do have a fun job.
It's a really enjoyable job. I want to make it so clear, it is not an easy job.
It's not. I know how much she does.
It's not an easy But it is fun. It's very, very fun. And that's the other part that, just because a thing is fun doesn't mean it's not hard and doesn't mean it's not worth something. So that's another lesson.
I mean,
to
I
learn.
totally agree. Like, you flip flop, just because something is hard doesn't mean it's not fun.
Exactly. Yeah.
Life lessons today. So many. Well, thank you so much for being here. And
Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah. Right. Maybe we'll interview you next.
I would, yeah. Okay. We'll see about that.
Bye.
Bye.